Here's a good picture. I recently, no, it's not really a good picture. Is this it? Maybe this one. Oh, no, not that. That's part of the text. I don't know if I have any good pictures.
All right, here we go. Ready for the bell.
Saved by the bell.
That was fun. Those of you on Zoom missed Sarah Johnson jumping 12 feet just then. That was amazing. All right, good afternoon and welcome to the November 20th meeting of the Rotary Club of Brentwood. I am Keeley Hall, and I have the privilege of serving this year as president, of this fine organization. This is your everybody on pins and needles waiting to hear announcement about keeping your social distance and wearing your mask. So thank you guys for your adherence to those policies. Again, as we pass around the microphone, if you are going to make any comments today, please remember mask on. Microphone is necessary for them to hear on Zoom. They cannot hear what you're saying if you do not have the mic. All right, with that, Sana Robinson today has our invocation, followed by Alan Treadway with the pledge and four-way test. Sana.
Thank you. Will you please bow your heads and pray with me? Father God, our creator and protector, we come to you today with heavy hearts as we mourn those that we have lost, John Stokes and BJ Howard. Please be with Virginia, Stokes' daughters and grandchildren as they adjust to life without John, and with us also. Be with BJ's wife and family, and the families of those who have lost loved ones to COVID and other tragic events this year. Also be with Jeff Magruder and his team at Hustle Strong as they grieve the loss of their leader and friend Rashid Walker, and with Walker's family as they remember their young son. We pray for an end to the senseless gun violence that took him in the prime of his life and with his mission yet unfulfilled. We praise you and thank you for the talent of these people who you allowed us to borrow while we privately remember them instead of publicly celebrating their memory. We ask that you comfort and keep safe our members who suffer with illness or recent recovery. Bob Searcy, Bob Belenfant, Roger Wheelwright, Larry Faust, and the Fiddlers, and others with unspoken needs and issues dealing with isolation and fear. Also those who have suffered job losses due to the recent economic shutdown. At a time when we should be celebrating with family near and far, many of us will be approaching this week with trepidation and loneliness. But we hope to celebrate the hope that you give us every day, sunrise, the beauty of your world, and the love that surrounds us all. We pray for renewed strength to serve others as we navigate a world unlike any that we've ever seen before. We continue to give you thanks for this club, its members, and the nourishment that you provide us today and in the days to come. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for that amazing invocation, Sana. On an unrelated point, look for a resolution coming soon to nominate Sana as our permanent chaplain of this club. That was perfectly appropriate. Just beautiful. Thank you. All right, pledge and four-way test, Mr. Treadway.
Yes. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, if you join me in the four-way test first, second,
is it fair to all?
third,
Will it build goodwill
and better
and
fourth?
All right, we do have a couple of announcements that I wanted to get to here before we do introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians and Happy Bucks. But before I get to the announcements, I do have a video presentation that Linus put together with his expertise. to remember our dear John Stokes. Nobody looks forward to going to a funeral, but where there's nothing like not being able to have one to help you to realize how important they are, and how much it helps us to get through that grieving process, get into that grieving process, the healing process, to be able to share a life lost with those who love them. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have a funeral for John. So we just wanted to take a few minutes. I think he's worth well more than that, and what he has given to our lives and to this club. We remember John Stokes so very fondly. Okay, so I do have some announcements that I want to get through that are, they're a bit of a downer, y'all, and there's no other way to say it. But I want to get through those so that we can focus on more positive things through the rest of the meeting. We did lose a former member to COVID-19 this last week as well. BJ Howard had not been a part of the club for a couple of years, but he was a member of this club briefly in 2017, and he died far too young from complications due to COVID-19 at 57 years old, and he also will be dearly missed. On the COVID-19 subject, the board met this last Tuesday night and had one of the most difficult deliberations and votes that I can remember. in my 5 or so years on the board. But in the end, the board does stand united in our decision that we needed to cancel this year's annual Christmas celebration at Richland. We know that many of you were looking forward to that. We were looking forward to that. Did not make the decision lightly. But given the time that we would need to be spending together in that venue, given the amount of time that is spent eating and drinking and fellowshipping, we felt like it was not a responsible thing to go ahead with. Since that time, of course, the mayor of Nashville has also put further restrictions on group gatherings. So the decision that the board made could conceivably be considered moot, although I don't think that's the case. It's a sad announcement. I do not like making that announcement. I'll just be very clear about that, but it is the right thing to do. I also wanted to bring up some positive things on that COVID-19 subject. This club, along with all the other clubs in Williamson County, were able to get together, partner with each other in donating iPads to Williamson County Medical Center's COVID unit. Dr. Michael Babb is district governor-elect, and he suggested that the Williamson Medical Center could benefit from these. So we donated those iPads so that patients who are dealing with those issues in that hospital and are not able to speak with family because of the quarantine situation can now Zoom with family members, and there can be some of what we just were able to do on a small scale with John Stokes. They can see, they can hear, they can converse with the person that they may never see again in person. We think that was a very worthwhile cause. Speaking of recoveries, Bob Searcy is doing well. He did have double bypass surgery on Friday. It went well. He was able to come off the ventilator that evening, was moved out of ICU on Wednesday, and is able to Zoom and talk with his family. But the family, of course, is asking for continued prayers and a quick recovery. Bob Bellenfant also recovering from bypass surgery. So please keep those folks in your thoughts, your prayers. And again, just like Sana said, the Stokes family, the Howard family, Kay McCarthy, Robert and Dottie Fiddler, the Wheelwrights, so many people dealing with stuff that's even harder to deal with right now than normal. I know I've got a lot of announcements, but I think they're each important, and so I want to make sure we get to each one of them. The foundation drive that we're in the middle of right now, we're getting good response from everybody, really, really good and encouraging response. We do still have about a dozen members that have yet to return their pledge forms. So please do get those pledge forms back in ASAP. The truth is, I do not know whether this will be our last meeting in person for a while or not. We are still scheduled to meet with for our annual business meeting on December 11th in this same format, in this room and on Zoom via hybrid meeting. But let's be honest, nobody knows what situation we're gonna be in on December 11th. So I just want to proceed with caution and be realistic that we may not be back together. So I do want to use this opportunity verbally to tell you, let's get your pledge forms back in. We do need those ASAP, and there's about 12 of you that are still have not had a chance to send those back in. Also, because we are together in this format, I want to let you know that we have started in our district the district governor nomination process. Each club can nominate a district governor or can make a nominee for someone that they think would be qualified to be district governor. We have started that process here in this district, and we have a member that has expressed interest, not just an interest, but a passion for doing that. And I think that goes a long way. This member is qualified, I think, for this position. And so be looking for the process that we will do in this weird time of COVID. It'll look a little different from years past, but Steve Grissom is interested in becoming district governor, and I may make that motion, but I may entertain a motion from somebody else to make it if they would like to do so. But Steve is eminently qualified for that post, and we look forward to that process. All right. Holy moly, y'all. Sorry for all the announcements. Now let's introduce guests and visiting Rotarians. Jane is on Zoom. Jane, are you prepared to do this, or would you rather me introduce our guests?
Well, I can't see who's in the room, Keely, so maybe we tag team it. You do the room and I can handle the Zoom.
Okay, that sounds like
That
a
makes
great
sense.
plan. I will introduce all the guests and visiting Rotarians in the room. Okay, Jane, your turn.
Okay, got it. So I will introduce those that I have seen, and then of course, I see a couple of phone numbers. Pardon me, so I can't tell who those folks are. So if I don't introduce you, please speak up and introduce yourself and don't be offended. So I've seen Mark Thompson, who is joining us from the Nashville Club. We have the pleasure of having past District Governor Bob Huffman joining us today. We have Jody Rawl, who, if I recall correctly, is with the Williamson Herald, and we're going to be stalking her for membership. Let's see. And then I saw our city manager, Kirk Bedner's name on here. So Kirk is with us. Is there anybody else who is on Zoom that I didn't get?
I think we have Gil Hutchinson, also from Citizens for Brentwood Green Space. Gil,
Oh,
Gil, are
great.
you present?
Hello.
Hey, Gil. All right, I think that is it for our guests and visiting Rotarians. Unless someone has a strong Happy Bucks moment today, and if you do, I want to give you that moment. I think we'll speed through this as quickly as we can. Anybody dying to give a Happy Buck announcement this afternoon? All right, moving on along. So, Curry might be the most disappointed person today. It's going to be Curry and Sybil will have to arm wrestle for who's more disappointed that I'm going to skip our trivia challenge today, just in the interest of time, and get to our speaker introduction. So, because this speaker is our illustrious past president, Sarah Johnson, and absolutely needs no introduction, I'm going to go ahead and give her one anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Johnson. Careful with the mic, it doesn't know its own power.
Thank you, Keely, for that wonderful introduction. Just to let everybody know, I'm going to keep my mask on, but if you can't hear me, please let me know and I'll remove it just to speak and then I'll put it back on again. So just let me know. Well, thank you everybody for being here today, and thank you for everyone that's on our Zoom call. We are talking today about where we are with our Inclusion Playground project. And I will tell you that with John Stokes passing, it is personally, anytime we lose a club member, but to lose somebody like John, it's just a personal hit to your gut, for lack of a better way to say it. The last time I believe that I got to spend time with John was after he had gotten his award, and I'm just so glad the club decided that that's the give him the Dan Askew Award. So thank you to the club for that as well. That being said, John was a big proponent of our Inclusion Playground. I would get emails from him quite often saying, "Where are you? What are we doing? We need to do some more." So you know how John is. It's wonderful. But so to update everybody about where we are with the Inclusion Playground, some of you may not remember my nephew Fisher. Fisher was at the installation banquet about 2 years ago, and this project started for me with him. Fisher lives out of town, and whenever he would come into our area and come stay with me or whatever, he'd make me drive to Murfreesboro to go to Miracle Field. Miracle Field is an inclusion playground, and what that what he loved about that the park is that so many people can do so many things there. So I want to introduce you as well to Fisher's friend. This this young boy here is lives here in Brentwood. His name is Treese. Treese, you couldn't tell. He and Fisher love a creek, as you can tell, as boys do. But Treese also was born, um, and he has some developmental issues, specifically sensory issues. He has a hard time in situations that have lots of stimulation going on. He has a complete and total meltdown. And an example, we went to Dave and Buster's. Everybody knows it's a kid's favorite place and the parents and aunt's worst nightmare. Dave and Buster's. That's where we went. We were there for about 30 minutes, and because of all the lights and the sound and the noise and the crowd, Trees had a come apart. And when I say a come apart, it was something I had not been prepared to deal with. And so as we go through this, you're going to understand kind of why um, this personally hits home for me. Trees is Fisher's best friend, complete best friend when he comes to Tennessee. He wants to play with Trees. But you want to play with Trees in areas that Trees is comfortable as well. Because it's just not fun for kids if they don't feel comfortable in their surroundings. This little boy right here, his name is Lucas. Lucas is my dear friend Kelly's son, and he has Down syndrome. Lucas is younger than Fisher, but Lucas, as you can tell, is a vibrant, lovely child who loves to play. Lucas is the child that some of the commissioners heard me talk about at our meeting way back when in January, that Fisher would go, and they met at Miracle Playground. I had my friend Kelly bring Lucas and Fisher, and they were all playing. And Fisher and Lucas had such a good time that he wanted Lucas to come back and play with him. He wanted him to come home and spend the night. Lucas has special needs, and being in that playground setting, he can play with everyone. So we're going to move on. What is an inclusion playground? A lot of times we talk about that, but we don't talk about what it actually means. An inclusion playground is a playground where all kids can play, period. They can play based on their ability. And so let me give you some pictures and some ideas of what it looks like. Thank you, Bob Huffman. He did host me this weekend so I could take some better pictures than what I had. So if you'll notice on an inclusion playground, okay, I'm not turning that way. On an inclusion playground, they have different type of covering for shade. They have some different type of play equipment so that kids can play in the way that they choose to. Now, remember I told you about Treese and his sensory issues? When Treese had his come apart at Dave and Buster's, what I learned was that you have to give him a way to get away from the crowd, to step back and catch his breath. And then once he can do that and be distracted from whatever else is going on, then he can go back into a play setting. So for a kid like Treese, this over here, which is you see, this is actually Fisher, but playing with there's xylophones and there's musical instruments and things of that nature. That's a way for them to still be a part of playing, but still get time away or with their friends to kind of just take a breath and have that moment and still continue. You'll see there's other types of equipment and things for kids of all ages to play. That's another thing. And you'll notice an inclusion playground has ramps for kids in wheelchairs. The xylophones again that we talked about. And so this next piece I'm going to show you is really, really cool. So this is what you imagine, okay? So this right here is a bucket swing, if everybody can see that. And the way it works is there's a ramp. We'll go back. Like that is actually this ramp right here, and there's the bucket swing. that you wheel a child in a wheelchair into, or any child can get into there. You can then, as you'll see here, that's where they'll wheel in, and there's doors, and that'll be a door to close. Mom and dad and friends or whomever can sit, and then this is the thing that you turn so that that swing goes back and forth. So all kids can swing, all kids can play, and have those same experiences. Now this is our illustrious, okay, I did that wrong. Our illustrious Bob Huffman. Hi, Bob. So Bob introduced me to this type of apparatus. So who here remembers a merry-go-round as a kid? All of you remember a merry-go-round? So what this does is they've got warning signs and everything, which is good. But where this child is, you can wheel right in. They can hold on to the bars, and then someone can push them. They can put the gates, that's where Bob is, with the gates, that they can put them back into that merry-go-round appearance of apparatus, and then they can get turned on a merry-go-round just like anybody else. Now, I want to point something else out to you guys. Do you notice here? This is not concrete. This is not normal playground flooring. What this is rubberized pour and play. So that what happens is if a kid falls, they don't get hurt. They bounce, for lack of a better way to say it. This is the material that makes a playground different, an inclusion playground. It makes it different than a traditional playground, if you will. This material is extremely expensive, but it's the right thing to do. This material alone costs about $300,000, based on what I heard from Dave Bunt, because this material you have to have drainage and other pieces to it so that it can be done properly. It does last 10 years, which is great, but just to keep in mind, that's where some of this extra cost we talk about over time, that's part of what it is that goes into that. Now, this is really kind of cool. So I'm showing you some of the other information. This right here, if you have a child that's blind, this is Braille. This is where a child that's blind can play because they have things that are there for them. And sign language, if there's also sign for the deaf children as well. I'm sorry, that's the deaf. On the other side was the Braille as well. But just to give people a way to interact with each other. This swing right here, notice the bar. This is so if you have a child that can't hold themselves up, it'll hold them in. But you also have other swings there as well for kids that don't need to be held in. This is Fisher's absolute favorite thing that he wants to do at the Miracle Field in Murfreesboro. You can't really tell, but this is a zip line. How this works, and it's so cool, you can kind of see a mom here and a mom here. This is the bucket chair, but bigger, okay? So if you have a child that can't do things on their own, they can be in the bucket chair, and they can be next to a child who you see mom here pushing on a rope swing. Everybody remembers the rope swings from when you were a kid. That's what that is. And so what they'll do, they'll race going down to the end of the path, and then they pull them back, and there is always a line for that. It's a little dark, but that's a picture of a child in the bucket swing so that you can kind of see that experience. This is a mock-up. I did steal it from Smyrna for the Smyrna playground that they're working on. This is, I didn't steal it. I didn't ask it, but still. This is kind of a mock-up for what it could look like one day. There's your zip lines and some of the other things we've talked about with the ramp and the merry-go-round. Who can play? Everybody can play. Not only children, but parents. How fun is it for a parent to get to play with your child and actually get to have that one-on-one time? What you can see here is we've all met Aubrey. She's come to speak with us before. Aubrey with the RILA program. She was one of the RILA kids that finally took it on. And this is Aubrey right here playing with her daughter. They're in this kind of swing. So the child sits here, the parent sits here, and look how high it's going. Mr. Huffman may have told me that he really thought that day that Aubrey was going to loop the swing because they were going so high. But that's the fun you have as a child. How high can you go? Now any child can have that same feeling, that same experience as they go through their life. Just some other pictures of how you'll see kids that are climbing on a rock wall type, but it's very low to the ground, so everybody can still climb. And then some other sensory items. Where's the park going to be located? Well, our generous commissioners have gone ahead and said that the first one's going to be at Granny White Park. There is plans to hopefully do more in the city of Brentwood, but you know this should be very familiar to everybody. The pavilion that Rotary helped years ago. This playground equipment here, my understanding is that it's going to be repurposed throughout the city, and so the playground would go right next to that pavilion. Why is it important for our community? For me, it's important to our community because it lives up to test. Our four-way test is, as we spoke about before, every single thing in here, but it really focuses on, will it be beneficial to all concerned, and will it build goodwill and better friendships? Because by giving kids and parents a place to interact with each other, you're building better friendships, and it's good for all. All kids can play and have similar experiences regardless of their individual abilities. The key. Doesn't matter. Everybody can play. So you see, this is another type of merry-go-round, and you can see kids playing. I took these in Clarksville last weekend. And they have slides and different components. This was very professional. Families can play together and spend quality time with all family members. This group right here, mom and kids, and there's another mom and kids over here. So get outside, and they were having a picnic on the ground. Then these kids would come, and then they'd go back and forth. We saw so many families socially distancing and their kids playing to the point that you can see here, mom is playing with kid, trying to help him do things that he would normally be too little to do. There's another picture of a mom with her children. Community engagement is what I think this project really is about, is bringing together people of different views for a common purpose. And for me, as you can see, it's a place where people who may not be in each other's world can come together. How's Rotary Club of Brentwood making an impact? Well, we make an impact first and foremost with our Brentwood Rotary Club Charitable Foundation, led by Larry Kane. Without them, none of this would be possible. And then we also, with the help of the Community Services Committee, Hunter McCarthy, will be working on that as well. And the Grant Writing Committee, Roger Greenup is our chair, and part of this will be grants in order to make this become a reality. Also, our PR committee, headed up by Kip Dotson, because it's all about word of mouth. It's all about telling the story to get as many people to participate as they can. We have some key partnerships. Also, the city of Brentwood is a key partnership. And also the 50th anniversary committee, from when they did the 50th anniversary for the city of Brentwood last year, they donated approximately $85,000 and asked for it be earmarked for an inclusion playground to the city. So that's the first start. That was the first kickoff point. And to me, that's amazing. That's awesome. So I wanted to make sure that I referenced and acknowledged that first donation. Brentwood Morning Club. The Brentwood Morning Club is also involved in this project. David Windrow and Vicki Stanford are going to be our committee members from that club. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a few minutes. Brentwood Green Space, Gil Hutchison is on the phone with us. Brentwood Green Space has stepped up and said, yes, I want to be a part of this as well. So for that, Gil, we thank you. We thank Green Space and look forward to working with you as well. Brentwood Family YMCA, Steve Saxton wasn't able to be on the call today, but Susan's here. Oh, hey, Steve Saxton. Didn't know you were on. So, hey, Steve Saxton is on. But the partnership with the Brentwood Family YMCA is important as well. They have a program, all the YMCAs do, called Full Circle. And that is a program for special needs children. So Susan Stickett, I hope I pronounced her name right, who leads that program is going to also serve on the committee with us. The Williamson Herald, Jody Rawl, thank you, Jody, for being on. She has stepped up and said, yes, I want to be a part of this. Let's see what we can do to make this happen. So these are just some of the initial early key partnerships. There are others. There's going to be others. So just to let everybody know kind of where we are. Timelines. So our first timeline was entering into an agreement with the city of Brentwood to partner on raising money for the inclusion playground in Brentwood. Check, that's complete. That was done earlier this year. Recruitment of Rotarians, community leaders, nonprofits, business leaders, and volunteers. That's going to be an ongoing process throughout this. So anyone that would like to be a part and join in this with us, we would love for you to come in any way you would like to contribute. Or just be a voice of advocacy. We appreciate it. Creation of an email for an additional information. Thank you, Jack Massari, who is here today. He helped us create this email, playgrounds@brentwoodrotary.org. This is an email that we can give out to people who are inquiring or ask questions about what we're doing and how they can be a part. So we have that established. We also are going to have a meeting on December 1st of the Inclusion Playground Committee to engage everyone in the process. This committee, I'm actually going to call it, we're going to have teams, and you'll see about that here in just a minute. This is just a group of people from the community coming together for the benefit of the Inclusion Playground. It's going to involve Rotarians, non-Rotarians, business leaders, nonprofits, any scope in our city. It's more of a community committee, if you will. The committee's engagement areas that we're going to be working on, because it's more than just raising money. If you don't like to fundraise, but you like to help, this is a way to do it. So our teams are, we're going to have a fundraising team, obviously. These are people who are going to go out and help talk to people about our story and see if we can raise money from the community leaders, businesses, things of that nature. A social media team. We've got to have a team of people who can use Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of the social media platforms to get our message out there and to tell our story. Marketing team. We got to have a marketing team. The marketing team is going to be responsible for creating creative ways to engage our other teams, as well as working with various partner organizations or partner teams to support social media, fundraising, things of that nature. We got to have a finance team, guys. If your brain is numbers, finance team is how you can help. And the finance team is really going to be the ones that help make sure that we can fulfill our commitment back to the city. And that is to make sure that we account for every dollar that's raised and that we report back and forth our progress as time goes on, as well as with the BRCCF, making sure that we get the 1098s or 1099s out and things of that nature for those that did donate. Grant team. This team is going to be, and Roger Greenup has said that he would be an advisory position with this, which is great. They're going to identify grants and then also write those grants to try to raise money from organizations like Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, foundations, things of that nature. So if you know of anybody that you think our plan will fit within their their foundation or their organization for grant writing, please let us know. We'd love to dig more into that. And Kurt Bedner's done a great job of sending me some links that he's found over the past few weeks. And so that's also part of what we're doing, is focusing on that grant writing as well. Our budget is around $1 million. That's how much it costs to do the entire playground. However, it's one of those things that is going to take a team of people from all different walks of life and all different areas to accomplish this goal, which I personally think is extremely doable, between grants and individuals and corporations. I think this is something we can work on us together. How you can help. You can join one of our teams to make a difference in your community any way you choose. All are welcome. Doesn't matter who you are, we'd love to have you. Awareness. Tell your friends and family about the Inclusion Playground. You never know who might like to join the effort. You never know who may be passionate about this and it never came up in conversation. If you know of a company or organization that has a foundation, awards grants, or that would be interested in giving a donation or being a part of the team, please let us know at playground@brentwoodrotary.org. I know I said a lot in a little bit of time, so I'm here to take any questions I'm going to let Keely lead the discussion.
Yeah, I'll have the microphone for in the room questions. And if those on Zoom have a question, you just let us know in the chat. First question, Sheila.
Mine is more of a comment that I want to back this is Williamson County is known for its programs, inclusion programs in the school system, and we're continuously having more and more people move in just because of that. And so a lot of people don't realize that a good number of percentage of kids with disabilities in our county, and I think this would be a great thing.
I should have said maybe Devin on the chat. I don't know.
Thank you, Sheila.
Oh, Sherry has a question.
You mentioned the project. Do you plan to do this in phases? As you raise the money, you'll do a phase, or as you raise X amount of dollars, or are you just going to do in one big bang?
So with partnership with the city has committed to make this happen. What we have partnered with is on this fundraising arm, but what we're going to start with is organizing, having a website, a portal, ways to take secure payments, things of that nature. That's really our part in it to start with. And the way the agreement reads is that I believe it's 30 days prior to commencement of construction, whatever we raise will be sent over to the city at that time.
All right, Betsy asked, is there a website yet, and can we donate there?
Well, that is actually something, Betsy, that we are going to have at our first meeting. We are working on, I need to get people who are better technological than I am to help create that website, but I do anticipate that happening this year so that the first of the year we will have that for donations.
Does there have to be a certain amount of money raised before they start digging and building?
There doesn't have to be a certain amount of money raised before they start construction. That's really on the city's timeline because they're committed to this project and they put money back in the budget, so to speak, for it. However, if a Rotary Club raises $100,000 or more, we do get a plaque of recognition for that. So any money we raise actually, and it goes towards this part, but it also lets the city have some extra money, so to start the other part for another inclusion playground, because the commissioners wanted to have one on two sides of Brentwood. So one at Granny White and one down at Crockett Park. So that you can kind of see the whole, if we raise, and I'm just putting numbers out there, if we raise $500,000, right? Then that's $500,000 the city can then use to start the other playground with. So for us, it's what can we do to have this come to fruition? That helps.
All right, last call for questions. Awesome. Sarah, thank you for your update.
Well, thank you, everyone.
And thanks again to all the guests who were able to join us from the various constituencies. I have no idea what that was. Thank you to all of our guests. Thank you to all of our members who were able to join today. Again, please remember all of our very many prayer requests and concerns as you go home this week. Also, because we are a group that is gathering together in public, I need to remind you all to please consider not traveling over the Thanksgiving holiday. Please consider keeping your groups and gatherings as small as possible, and if possible, limited to the people with which you live. We're all in this together, as we've heard a gazillion times already in the last 8 months, but it's true. So with no other business for the good of Rotary, please go forth, be safe, and continue serving.